Here's a statistic that may surprise you. Over 60% of people who move to a suburban location underestimated 3 major aspects of suburban life before they got there. That means that most people are making one of the biggest decisions of their lives without fully understanding what they're signing up for. Hi, I'm Cassandra Lopez. I've been living and working in Bremerton for the past 26 years, and in today's video, I'm sharing the real pros and cons of suburban living based on what my clients are actually experiencing. The hidden costs that catch people off guard, the lifestyle changes that nobody warns you about, and the one benefit that changes everything for families who get it right. Bremerton and Kitsap County's suburban landscape has changed more in the last 10 years than most cities change an entire generation. The population here is projected to grow 46% in the next 20 years. Major waterfront redevelopment has shaped and is continued to shaping downtown Bremerton and most of the downtown corridors throughout the county. And more people than ever are crossing the water from Seattle looking for lifestyles here while retaining their employment on the east side. Suburban living in Kitsap County is uniquely shaped by 3 things you will likely not find anywhere else in the Pacific Northwest. Navy presence that drives not only housing demand, but community turnover. Ferry system that can either be your greatest commuting asset or your biggest frustration. And a block-by-block variation within and between neighborhoods, which means that 2 homes at the same price point can look and feel very different depending on location. The one that surprises nearly every buyer I work with is coming up at the end, so stay with me. Let's start with the number that most people moving from Seattle get really excited about when they first see it. The median price points per square foot in Bremerton right now is around $255 per square foot, compared to Seattle metrics where it's almost or around $600 per square foot for a comparable property. That is not a small difference. It's a fundamental shift in how far your dollar goes depending on location. A $500,000 budget in central Kitsap typically will get you a single family home, likely will have an office, likely will have a garage, some yard to spread out in. That same $500,000 in Seattle will get you a street view condo with no parking. In daily life, this difference shows up in ways that people did not anticipate for. Remote workers finally get an office where the door closes all the way. Families with kiddos have outdoor spaces that actually belong to them. People who have been storing things in storage units for years and now finally have space to bring it home. So who does this benefit the most? Move-up buyers coming out of smaller urban properties, remote workers who need functional office space, and families with equity from a previous home that they want to roll into a new home, and they want something that is going to stretch their equity farther. The practical advice here is to pay attention to the lot size and the layout, or as I like to refer to the 3 L's, location, lot, and layout. If those 3 things work for you, you can pretty much change anything else about the property. A 2,200 square foot property in East Bremerton on a 1/4 acre lives a lot differently than a 2,200 square foot home on a tiny city lot in an urban destination. Work with the layout that fits with your lifestyle and fits actually how you live, not just the square footage number in the listing. Now here's the trade-off for all that space. The moment you move out of downtown Bremerton or any of the downtown locations throughout Kitsap County, the need for a car becomes almost mandatory. And that will change your monthly budget and your time constraints that maybe wasn't anticipated prior to choosing that location. Bremerton's transportation index is 31.5% higher than the national average. Over 76% of Bremerton residents drive to work, but only 2.6% take public transportation. Kitsap Transit has lots of routes all over the county, also lots of transfer stations if you're traveling a long distance and you need to transfer buses to get to different locations. If you're looking at neighborhoods further out like Seaback or Olalla or Hansville, you should probably plan on your own personal vehicle being your primary source of transportation. For families with teenagers who are not yet driving, like mine, this can be a real challenge because every time your kiddo needs a ride to school or a friend's house or sports activities or any other extracurricular activities, that's more time in the driver's seat. And that time adds up day over day, week over week. So it's worth running the actual numbers before you commit to a neighborhood or location. The way to minimize this is pretty straightforward. Just choose a location that's close to the amenities and facilities that you're going to be accessing most, if that's what's important to you. So whether that's your job or shopping or schools, make that your epicenter location. A neighborhood neighborhood that's 5 minutes from those places looks a lot different than one that's 20 or 30 minutes where it's like an all-day affair. Here's something that drives decisions for home purchasing in Kitsap County probably more than any other, and that is the school district boundary lines. Not the city, not the zip code, the specific district boundary. Because the difference between a B- rating and a B+ rating can sit on opposite sides of the same street. Families who prioritize school quality and research districts before they're relocating will often see districts like Bainbridge Island come up, and North Kitsap and Central Kitsap. Bremerton School District and South Kitsap School District are also districts in our county. The practical reality within the market is this. Homes that are in the North Kitsap or Central Kitsap School District may sell faster than homes in Bremerton or South Kitsap. Families that are doing their research are pre-filtering by school districts, and that demand is visible in the data. Before you fall in love with specific address, verify which school district that house is actually in. The district websites will publish boundary maps, and so you should be able to download where the boundaries for that district and the schools within that district lie. It is one of the most practical things you can do before committing to a neighborhood. The rain is an obvious one, but it's not just the rain. It's what the rain does to a home over a long period of time. Mold and mildew in crawl spaces and attics is a common documented issue in Kitsap County. Drainage and grading around a foundation is crucial and maybe something that's not obviously needed in drier climates like Southern California or Arizona. Kitsap County has many properties on septic systems, which, if you're not familiar, is an on-site sewage system if city sewage is not available. Septic conveyance inspections and maintenance, and maybe ultimately a septic system replacement or repair, are costs that a buyer needs to understand before you close on a home, not after. HOA reserves are a separate but equally risky endeavor. Underfunded reserves mean that there may be assessments in the future increasing your HOA dues in ways that you could not have predicted. Utilities in Kitsap County, which include Puget Sound Energy and Cascade Natural Gas for heating and cooling, run about 10% below the national average. So that's good news. If you're buying a home with an older HVAC system, maybe it's original to the home and hasn't been maintained, then that's something you need to budget for in terms of repair or replacement down the road. A proper home inspection is part of your due diligence, which includes inspections of all the major systems like HVAC, plumbing, electrical, water supply, and foundation and roofing, is pretty non-negotiable in this market. The honest budget guidance I give to every buyer is to set aside 1% to 2% of your home's value per year towards maintenance costs and repairs. If you're moving to Kitsap County, you don't know what neighborhood is what, where you might fit in, what lifestyle and neighborhood mix the best, go ahead and pop into the description. I created this neighborhood quiz just for you. It's super user-friendly. Just roll through a couple of questions and then it'll match you with some neighborhoods that might work well for your lifestyle and your budget and anything else you might be looking for. Urban living in Seattle or any other big city really is anonymous by design. You can live in the same building for like 3 years and not know any of the neighbors on your floor. Suburban neighborhood living offers pretty much the opposite of that. Neighborhood engagement here is very active. City of Bremerton runs a weekly farmers market at the Evergreen Rotary Park. The annual Blackberry Festival, which is Labor Day weekend every year, and that's held downtown Bremerton, down at the marina. And lots of other events sprinkled in that draw the broader community together every week and every year. These are communal touch points that build familiarity between neighborhoods and communities. Many HOA communities have neighborhood parks, basketball courts. Sometimes they have trail systems. There's periodic meetings, and so community members can get involved with their individual HOAs. And they're all centrally located kind of within driving distance of any of the major military installations like Naval Base Kitsap, Bremerton, Bangor, or Keyport. They're also close to shopping, schools, ferry systems, libraries, restaurants, all kinds of great stuff. This geography means that residents will oftentimes share the same daily rhythms, and that shared context is the foundation of community. But if community connection is a priority for your household, there are many Kitsap suburban neighborhoods that will deliver in a way that super urban high metro areas may not be able to. If you are moving from a city where you can walk to 3 or more restaurants from your home without even thinking about it, then moving to the outer suburbs of Kitsap County may be a dramatic shift in that lifestyle. Restaurants like the Boat Shed, Cafe Kai, and Anthony's at Sinclair Inlet are quality options that have been there for years. And the city is always adding more. If you're buying in places like Silverdale, Seebeck, maybe even Hansville, the reality is those dining options are going to rely a little bit more heavily on chain options rather than the smaller artisan restaurants. Entertainment costs are also worth noting. Non-essentials like entertainment, theater, dog grooming even, are running about 20% higher than the national average. The practical advice here is to choose your neighborhood based on the locations and services that you use most and that are super important to you. If walkability is a non-negotiable for your lifestyle, you're going to be looking at downtown Bremerton, downtown Poulsbo, downtown Kingston, and like the Winslow and Linwood Center locations on Bainbridge Island. Being clear about that requirement up front will save lots of frustration later. Bremerton and Kitsap County are not just affordable relative to Seattle, but are actively appreciating. And the economic anchor for that appreciation has been in place for over 100 years. Puget Sound Naval Shipyard employs over 13,500 workers. It is the largest employer in Kitsap County and one of the largest naval complexes on the West Coast. That's a stable, non-cyclical demand driver for housing. When tech layoffs ripple through Seattle, Puget Sound Naval Shipyard is stable and does not close. This matters for long-term hold value. Even though buyers are controlling the market right now, homes are still appreciating and the numbers prove it. Redfin's Compete score for Bremerton sits at an 87 out of 100. Central Kitsap specifically scores a 92 out of 100, placing it in the most competitive tier. And this is not a coincidence. About 70% of home buyers searched to stay within the metropolitan area during the last quarter of 2025. Whether or not they actually purchased there is unknown. And a population base that's expected to grow 46% over the next 20 years creates sustained upward pressure on values. And that's definitely worth understanding before comparing Kitsap County markets to other suburban marketplaces. The ferry commute is a single most misunderstood aspect of living in Bremerton. Whether or not it works for your daily life depends entirely on details that most people haven't even scoped out until they actually move here. Here's what the commute looks like depending on how you're actually using it. The Washington State Ferry vehicle crossing takes about 50, usually 60 minutes from dock to dock. Driving around the Sound through Tacoma takes about an hour and 20 minutes by car. The Kitsap Transit Fast Ferry is the walk-on option that takes about 30 to 35 minutes dock to dock from Bremerton to Seattle. The single fare is about $10 from Seattle to Bremerton. The round trip fast ferry monthly pass is about $210. If you are a Seattle-bound commuter, the ferry is almost always the best option. And if you're taking the fast ferry, it means you can't take your car, which means you have to leave it in Bremerton, which means you need a place to park it, or you need to be within walking distance of the ferry or biking distance. The vehicle ferry, which is the Washington State DOT ferry, adds a little bit of complexity. During peak seasons with a seasonal surcharge, it could be $25 and change each direction just for the vehicle. From Bremerton to Seattle, the passenger is free. From Seattle to Bremerton, it's an additional fare for the passenger. The 3% surcharge on credit and debit card transactions at the toll booth is a new development, and the ferry schedule is not flexible, meaning if you miss your sailing or you arrive too late and the boat is full, then you're waiting for the next sailing or you're driving around. Just driving around Kitsap County, the average commute time between start to finish is anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes. So it's a pretty easy commute and well below the national average. But of course, if you're traveling outside of Kitsap County via ferry, or maybe you're going down to Tacoma and you have to cross the bridge, travel times, travel distance, and tolls and fares will always increase and compound your daily commute. If you're considering relocating to Kitsap County or Bremerton anytime in the next few months to a year, and you would like advice from somebody who's been living and working here for 26 years, drop me a text, give me a call, send me an email, or if you want, my Calendly link is in the description below. And we can schedule a quick call to go over your needs, your wants, your budgets, your timeline, and everything that you're looking for so we can strategize together. Here's what nobody's telling you about safety in Bremerton and Kitsap County. The crime stats you read online may or may not be real, or accurate, but they are most assuredly almost always concentrated within certain locations around the county. And they're not really proximal to the locations where people are looking to buy. This is one of the most important distinctions I make with clients who are relocating to Kitsap County and Bremerton. And they write off Bremerton completely without understanding that those statistics are highly concentrated in small locations where you may or may not even be looking anyway. Kitsap County is full of dozens and dozens of distinct neighborhoods with dramatically different conditions on the ground. The facts by neighborhood tell a different story than citywide. 69.2% of Bremerton's analyzed neighborhoods received a grade A safety rating. Specific neighborhoods, including Chico, Marine Drive, Rocky Point, even earned a grade A+. Other areas outside Bremerton would include Hansville, Kingston, and Bainbridge Island are very high on those rankings as well. The citywide violent crime rating for Bremerton is 4.77 occurrences per 1,000 residents, which is significantly lower than the national average of 13.32 occurrences per 1,000 residents. The practical guidance is this: do not let a citywide or countywide statistic make a neighborhood-level decision for you. Research the specific streets you are considering. That block-by-block context is what most online searches can't give you. The hardest thing to prepare for when moving to the Bremerton suburbs is not the weather, it's not the ferry schedule, and it's not the home maintenance. It's the realization that making genuine social connections requires a level of intentionality that most people aren't used to. There are two things that are driving this that are specific to Kitsap County. The first is the military rotation cycle. A significant portion of our community turns over regularly every year just due to the natural PCS cycle of the military. People move in, build a small network, and then they PCS out. That's the reality of how a military town functions, and it means that long-term social networks require more sustained effort to build here than maybe in a civilian suburb where residents have lived there for 15 years or longer. The second is the car-dependent design of most neighborhoods in Kitsap County. When you can't walk to a coffee shop or a local bookstore or a park or some other fun little gathering spot, spontaneous social connection goes away. You may not be running into your neighbors casually. Social interaction becomes scheduled by default. Research from Transportation for America and the Surgeon General's 2024 report both identify car-dependent suburban infrastructure as a contributing factor to the loneliness epidemic, affecting approximately 50% of American adults. That same research applies here. What residents actually say about Bremerton on sites like niche.com captures it honestly. It is peaceful, but at the same time, there isn't much to do. That's a fair summary for the outer suburbs specifically. The infrastructure for connection does exist here, but it won't come to you. You have to go get it. And going in with that expectation will make this transition significantly easier. Knowing the pros and cons is only the first layer, because within the neighborhoods I have covered today, the specific street you land on, the specific school district boundary, and the specific distance from the ferry terminal you are willing to live will shape your daily life in ways that 5 bullet points won't be able to. If you get those details wrong from a distance, no amount of appreciation or square footage is going to make up for that. So if you want neighborhood by neighborhood clarity before you commit, reach out anytime. Call, text, book a call with my Calendly link, and I will help you work through the right fit for your real life in Bremerton and all of Kitsap County.